Hey everybody, hope your day is off to a good start. Thank you for taking a few minutes to join me for today's 5 for 5. So many of you know I'm in a discipleship group. We call them D groups at our church with three other guys from our church. And we're moving through scripture together. And we journal, we read the same passages, and then once a week we do a conference call. We normally would meet together, but it's a conference call nowadays. And we just sort of unpack what God's showing us. Well, about a week or two ago, we were in the book of Daniel, and I've got to tell you, Daniel has been one of those books that has always been a little bit intimidating to me. It's a book of prophecy, and prophecy has not been one of the areas of Scripture where I have been most knowledgeable. If you ask me a question about prophecy, man, I'm going to have to get back to you and do some digging. And Daniel is one of those books, but the first 6 chapters or so is a lot of historical narrative type literature, and so it just sort of chronicles experiences in Daniel's life or in the lives of his 3 sort of fellow countrymen, so to speak, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. So here's the quick story with Daniel. Daniel was a Hebrew. He was a Jew, a follower of God, and he was hauled off into captivity in 605 BC with the people of Judah. And Daniel was sharp. He was bright. Many feel he was probably young. And King Nebuchadnezzar of the Babylonians loved to take the best of the land and basically kind of squeeze them into the mold of the Babylonians. And that's exactly what he tried to do with Daniel. He changed his name. He tried to groom him in the ways of the Babylonian culture. In fact, listen to what it says here in Daniel chapter 1. Verse 8, it says, "But Daniel made up his mind that he would not defile himself with the king's choice food or with the wine which he drank. And so he sought permission from the commander of the officials that he might not defile himself." Even right down to the diet. Nebuchadnezzar and the Babylonian leaders tried to squeeze Daniel into their mold and trying to basically recreate their identity. And I love what Daniel said. Daniel planted his feet and he said, no, this is not going to happen. I'm a follower of God. I have my own identity already. And he resisted it, but here's how it started. It says that he made up his mind. You know, that reminds me, and when I went through this passage in our D group, it reminded me the day that I read it, of Romans chapter 12, verse 2. Listen to what Paul would say hundreds of years later in the book of Romans. Listen to this passage of Scripture. It's in Romans chapter 12, verse 2. I thought I had it saved here, so give me just a second. Romans 12, verse 2. He says, "And do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind." Well, that sounds a lot like Daniel chapter 1. Do not be conformed. Do not be squeezed into the mold of this world. Every time you're tempted, it's the enemy trying to squeeze you into his mold. Every time you turn on the news, it seems in this culture in which we live, often many of the trappings of this world are really dangers that try to squeeze us into a mold that pushes God to the curb. And I encourage you this morning to take a look at your own life and ask yourself, hey, where do I need to plant my feet? And where do I need to be reminded that I'm a follower of Jesus, that my identity is rooted completely in Him? I'm not going to let temptation, I'm not going to let sin, I'm not going to let the world's opinions dictate who I am, but I am going to proudly follow Jesus wholeheartedly. And I'm going to see myself the way He does. And I'm going to fix my mind on Him. Hey, maybe for you, you need to renew your mind today and remind yourself of the treasure that your life carries because you're a follower of Jesus. Maybe there's some things you need to put away. Maybe there's some things you need to do differently. Hey, if it's going to help you to be more like Christ, all the better. We hope you have a great day today. Stay tuned tomorrow for the next 5 for 5 from Jason Gamble, our equipping pastor. Have a great day.